Shalom Evracha, welcome to the weekly Shiur of Zera Shimshon. Today is Thursday, Parshas Emor, Yud Gimel Lechodesh Ir, Tavshim Pevov. Tonight is going to be Pesach Sheni, Yud Dalet Ir. It's going to be the first day of Sfiras Hoid. Sfiras Omer split into 7 weeks. Each week corresponds to another midah. Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferes, Netzach, Hoid, Yisai, Malchus. And we're entering into the week of Hoid tonight. And then we're going to get to Lag BaOmer, which is Hoid Sheba Hoid, splendor of splendor. And let's try to work out some idea what Hoid can mean for us and how we're going to be Zoichem Yitz Hashem to tap into the resources of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai together with the schus of the Heilige Zera Shimshon that we Zoiche to learn every single week. Had he promised in his Akdama that people that learn his Sefer, he will be there for them. And he will bring them Yeshuas and Refuas in many areas, and specifically in the Inyan of Zera Shel Kayama. So let's try and learn a short piece here in Zera Shimshon, Parshas Emor, and we'll try, Be'ez Hashem, to tie it into the week of Hoid and to understand how we can tap in to this gewaldige gift called the week of Hoid and the light of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, B'siyata D'Shmaya. We'll learn Zera Shimshon, Parshas Emor, Ois Beis. The second column, page Kufta Zayin in the print that I have. Yesh lefarish Medrash Tamua. I want to explain a paradigm Medrash brought in this week's Parsha. And this is how the Medrash goes. The Pasuk says, the beginning of this week's Parsha, Emor el Kahanim b'nei Aaron, v'omar toleihem l'nefesh lo yitamo ba'amov. There's a restriction for Kahanim that they may not become Tamei l'meisim. Says the Medrash, Hadah hu d'chsiv. On this pasuk, we bring a pasuk in Tehillim, which says, Yiras Hashem Tahora Oimedes La'at. Says the Medrash, what's the connection between the Isser of Kahanim becoming Tamei to the pasuk that says, Yiras Hashem Tahora Oimedes La'at? Amr Levi, Mi Yira Shenisyare Aaron Mifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because Aaron the Kohen had something that's called Yiras Shemayim, Zocha. That's why he was given this parsha of Emor el Kahanim lenefesh leitama ba'amov. And the chiddush is this parsha is oimedes la'ad she'eina zaza mimenu. The parsha is always applicable, and his children will have this parsha, and his Eitzach will have this parsha till the end of time. Tavshim Peivav Kahanim have an isser to go to Levias and to become Tamei, and they have an isser to go on planes in certain situations. Why? Because Aaron the Kohen had Yiras Shemayim. And Yiras Shemayim, it says, it's a Medrash La'ad. That's why this parsha is applicable till the end of time. Ad kan Divrei Medrash. Frank the Zera Shimshon, I don't begin to understand the kasha. Is this the only parsha that applies till the end of time? That's everlasting. The Parsha continues. There's an Issa for a Kohen to marry a Grusha, which applies till today. The Issa of marrying a Chalala, Zoina, also in the Haggis La'olam. And we don't have a pasuk on that. Yiras Hashem Tahora Medes La'at. And I would add another question. What's the Chiddush? Why shouldn't it be Negea forever? Every Parsha is everlasting. Every mitzvah is eternal. What's the Chiddush? V'oid, Frank the Zera Shimshon, what's the midah k'neged midah? Ma inyan yira in Parshas Ubefrat. Because Aaron the Kohen had Yiras Shemayim, that's why he gets this parsha. What's the connection of these two things? Says the Zera Shimshon, pshat like this. A beautiful pshat, a beautiful insight. V'yidua ki atuma bola olam b'shvil chet ha'egel. The whole concept of tumah, mason, and all the halachas that come with it is a direct result of the Chet HaEgel. Before the Chet HaEgel, there was no such thing as Misa, because then we had Cherus B'Yetzahara, Cherus B'Malach HaMaves. Everybody would have lived forever. There'll be no Levias and no Beis HaKvaris and no concept of Tumah. V'Hayira Hazu, Aaron the Kohen had Yira, you know when? When he knew, after he had some level of involvement in this Aveira of the Chet HaEgel, and he was terribly embarrassed about this idea that he was involved, and he had Yira. And the pasuk says, that when Moshe Rabbeinu tells Aaron to the avodah, he says, "I'm embarrassed, I'm afraid," and Moshe Rabbeinu tells him, "Lama ataboish lekachnev karta." So we're seeing already some connection between these two ideas. Tumas Meis comes because of the Cheta Egel. Yira is something Aaron had also because of the Cheta Egel. Umayata explain the Zera Shimshon. Now we can understand the Medrash with a very powerful lesson. The Salka Data, the question was, why would we think that this halacha is not everlasting? We have a good reason to think so. The Salka Data mina kadamina besamuch, like we mentioned in another piece. Hoil shakahanim nikra malachim. Kahanim are called kings. Behem kadoshim, they have kedusha. Oker shenitmu, once they become tamei, kala kedusha holchala. We would have thought once they become tama, all the kedusha that they ever had disappears, vanishes. Ubifrat b'teris halalu. In our generation, we don't even have a fapara. We don't even have potential for them to become tar. So we would have thought this halach is not negeya. We've been tamei for years, decades, and centuries. Do you really think a kohen can't become tamei? He's anyway tamei. He's living with tuma, and now you get to tell him, you go to Levaya, can't come too close. You can't go to basic forest too close. Why is that still negeya? Nevertheless, l'kachiv tichoi, the Eibishter promised, she'eina zaza mimenu at sof kol hadoros. This applies till the end of time. Why? Shem hoya emes shakdusha halchala. If that kedusha would have left, like hoya mitzuvim, then this halacha won't be applicable. Hoya shekvav tebeim. Elavada, and here comes the most important word. Zemoira shekadosh baruch hu sheichen itam b'soich temoisam. The Eibishter is still resting, and he resides within the Kahanim. B'soich temoisam, although they are tamei, the kedusha doesn't disappear. They are still kedoshim, they're still tahirim, and therefore they still have a restriction, the nefesh leitama ba'amov. And that is the chiddush. How was Aaron HaKohen zeichet to this idea? Not that the Isra applies, but the reason of the Isra applies. That Kehanim's kedusha is everlasting, unconditional. That comes because of the Yira Shemayim that Aaron HaKohen has. Aaron did a chait. There's some level of pagam in Aaron HaKohen. What did Aaron do afterwards? He had busha, he had yira, and he didn't say, okay, big deal. No. He was afraid and he was embarrassed. And he had true yira shemayim. And what has yira shemayim? Then things are everlasting. Yiras Hashem Tahira, or Medes La'at. The Karen Aaron Mispesh Ba'atzmoi. So he got a Mechila, and he got this idea that this halacha of Issa Tumah for his children, his Eniklach, Ureniklach, at Safka Ladairas, is gonna be applicable because the Kahanim are gonna have this level of Kedusha. And with this, I think we can understand the week of Hoid that we're gonna enter Mitzvah Shem tonight. And for the next week, we'll be living in the atmosphere of Hoid. Sfas Emes brings from Ezedech Dusharim. As we mentioned, we have 7 weeks of Sphira, and there's a void of 6 weeks, and the 7th week is a week on its own, which means the void is the Chesed, Gevura, Tiferes, Netzach, Hoid, Yisoid. Malchus is a different concept. They correspond 6 Lashonas in Tilim Yutes. The Pasuk says, Torah has 6 definitions. Torah Hashem Tamima Meshivas Nafesh 1. Eidos Hashem Namanim Achivas Pesi 2. Pekida Hashem Yisharim Mesam Chalev 3. Mitzvahs Hashem Bara Miras Hanayim 4. Now comes number 5. Number 5 is Yiras Hashem Tahira Oimedes La'ad. This is Yiras Shemayim. This is the 5th week. This is Hoid. Mishpat Hashem Emes Tat Yachtov. That's week number 6. So we're not going to explain the other 6. What's negated to us is the week of Hoid. Week of Hoid corresponds the concept of Yiras Shemayim. Yiras Hashem Tahira Medes La'ad. We know we have this Shpizin. Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Moshe, Aaron, Yosef, David. Who's number 5? That's Aaron HaKohen. Aaron HaKohen is the week of Hoid. He's the week of Yiras Hashem Tahira Medes La'ad. And I would add, in light of this piece of Zera Shimshon, what's the first day of Hoid? It's Pesach Sheni. What's Pesach Sheni? There were people that were Tamei, and they could have said, okay, if we're Tamei, it's over. It's not applicable. Comes the first day of Hoid, say no. Since you have the idea of Yeras Hashem Tahira Medis La'ad, then we're going to give a chance even for Tameim. We'll give them a concept called Pesach Sheni. It's a Medis La'ad. In all situations, the Yitz Kedusha doesn't dissipate, doesn't disappear. And that's the first day of Hoid. And then we get to Lag BaOmer. Lag BaOmer is Hoid Sheba Hoid. Hoid Sheba Hoid is the Madrega Reb Shimon Beichai, as Yidua the Beis Aaron writes, Ma HaKadosh Baruch Hu Lakoil Af Lebchusem, Af Reb Shimon Beichai Lakoil Af Lebchusem. Reb Shimon Beichai is Ma'orer, this Nekuda, in every Yid, even somebody that's superficially, externally, he looks like there's not much to him, there's no fire, there's no Eish, there's no Nitzutz. Says Reb Shimon Beichai, no. It's Hoid Sheba Hoid. It's a Medis La'ad. I'm going to find that spark. I'm going to find that fire. Reb Shimon Beichai says in the Gemara Shabbos, Kol Yisrael b'nei Malachim heim. We are still called Malachim. We are still called princes. Every Yid is called a prince. Says as Fasam, as he heard from his Zedek Dusharim, the day of Lag BaOmer is Mesugel for Yira Shemayim. The whole week is Mesugel for Yira Shemayim. For sure, the day of Reb Shimon Beichai is Mesugel for Yira Shemayim. Which type of Yira? The type of Yira of Bush, which means a person elevates himself. Think, I'm a Ben Melech. I'm a prince. I bask in the light of the Eibishter. I can't, chas v'shalom, be involved in things that passanish, that are not appropriate. And with that, we're going to tap into the Yeshuas that come from Shimon Beichai. Reb Shimon Beichai is Yochel Lisbech Olav B'Shas HaTchak. We are in a Shas HaTchak. Reb Shimon Beichai says, even a Yid's spiritual situation is Shas HaTchak. Still, in the week of Hoid, in the week that we're there, even for Tameim, we can find Yeshuas, we can find Kabbalah's Hatfilas, the Leib Shtav, the Schus of the Zera Shimshon, the Schus of Shimon Beichai Yogim Badenu, and we'll be Zeichim with Hashem to Bias Mashiach Tzidkenu, B'mheira B'meina Amen. A good Shabbos and a good week of Hoid.